In our retro hobby, there are certain tools we just can't do without. It would be tricky to replace the caps on a 48K Speccy without a soldering iron, although I swear I've seen the results of just such an attempt. And there are those tools that make our life easier, things like the good old Moo gun, which I think straddles the line between essential and luxury. You can get by without it, but for most of us mere mortals, it's the difference between a repair and repairing it till it's broken. Thermal cameras, on the other hand, are very much on the luxury end of the scale. But when you consider how much time they can save you, I'd suggest they're worth the asking price if you can afford it. Last year I reviewed this TC001 thermal camera phone dongle thing from Topdon, and I have to say it served me very well in many repairs since I was kindly sent it for review. That video over on my main channel is in the top corner of your screen and linked in the description if you're interested in my thoughts on that device. But let's wind forward to today. Kaiweets reached out and asked if I would like to take a look at another thermal camera. I wasn't sure if I really wanted or needed another one, but I did a little investigating on the specs of this new one, finding a few details I thought could make a big difference to the way I use one in my workflow. In the end, I said, yes please, and a few days later, it arrived. Now, I should point out this was sent for me for free. No money has or will change hands, and Kaiweets don't have any input into the content of this video. I'll be comparing this camera to the Topdon one I've been using, and hopefully I can show why I was interested in an upgrade. Let's get into the box and have a play. All right, I have been into this box already and had a look around to get used to the camera because I didn't want to be floundering during the video. I also needed to charge it up, so it's all ready to go for the review. So inside we get the thermal camera itself. We get a charger with a UK plug adapter and a USB-C cable. The case is really nice. It actually, the thermal camera is not going to go anywhere once it's inside there. Quite like that. I might actually, normally with the Topdon one, which is very robust by the way, I just have this hanging off its USB cable. I don't put it in a case because I like tools in my workshop to be to hand. I like to be able to not have to go rummaging through a toolbox or a drawer or a box somewhere or in another room looking for the tool that I need to use at that moment. So I need to find somewhere for this. I might design a 3D printed bracket to put it on a wall put it on a holder on the wall. Right, the first thing we should probably do is a sexy peel. Okay. Everybody go and wipe yourselves down. Right, so the reason I quite like the idea of a pistol one, these do command a slightly higher retail price than the dongles, because if you think about it, all of the electronics in here to actually run it, you need a screen and you need something to actually store all of the pictures and a way to process them. It's a more complicated machine than this. This is just a camera and will work with most devices. You can plug this into a PC and it will show up as a camera. But the way that I use this is to, well, so the way you're supposed to use it is to plug it into your camera, and you plug it in like this. Oh, there has been an upgrade to the software on the Topdon software, but I'm going to stick with the old software because I just know it. And this works fine, but with a case on, actually it's not too bad with this case. It's not too bad, but I've had it with other cases where the dongle didn't quite reach, the USB plug on the dongle didn't quite reach into the phone far enough for it to make a good connection, and it was a bit flaky. So the way I've been using it is to plug it into this extension cord that comes with the camera and then plug that into my phone. And that's okay, that works quite well because I can then just put the phone down next to the item and then look around like this on whatever I'm looking at. Well, that's fine. But it does mean that I have to use a phone with it, and that's not always ideal. I might want to be using my phone for other things. But in terms of startup times and how quickly I can get it activated, I have this hooked up above my workbench. I take it down. I have to get my phone. I don't have to have the phone on or anything. You plug it into the phone, and then as long as your phone is unlocked, it will just boot up the software, the Topdon software. Tap that and away I'm going. So it's not too bad, and that works well for me. And on here I can take pictures and I can take video, which we'll get to in a minute. And the quality is good. I will point out that the resolution is exactly the same on these, and I suspect that they're all using a very similar, if not the same, sensor. I don't know enough about these things, but there's been a massive explosion of budget and good value thermal cameras on the market in recent years, and they all seem to have the same 256 by 192 resolution. So I suspect that the image quality between them is exactly the same, but it's the way that each device uses that image that is the difference between these devices. There's a lot of devices in that sentence. So the boot up time on this, because this will be the hanging off of a hook on my wall or in a cradle somewhere, or just probably chucked on the workbench. The boot up time on this is, it says in the description for this that it's 1 second. Actually, there was something else in the box. So one thing I forgot actually is that there is this in the box. And I haven't actually looked at this yet, so let's have a quick look at this before I go further into that. So we've got user manual, battery calibration certificate, and some advertising gumph. So in here it will say features. Well, it doesn't actually say it on here, but it does say on the Amazon listing that it takes 1 second to boot up. It's not quite true. It's very quick though, so if I press, I'm going to press now. It's quick, but it's not 1 second. It's like, I think it's about 3.5 seconds, but it'll be on your screen. The good thing about this is that I can just pick it up, point it at something, and it will tell me what the temperature of that thing is. So my hands are 32, the hot spot on my hand is 35 degrees, 33.7. And this is actually not a bad way for me to do it. Now, the way I've been using a thermal camera to make videos, I do have two uses. So I have the thermal camera to diagnose faults, and I also use it to show data on video. So I need to show that something's hot on a computer that I'm repairing in a video. Now, to do that with the Topdon, first what I did was I connected it to my phone and I recorded that video, and then I synced up that footage. But that's not ideal, and so I stopped doing that. And in the end, I would connect up the thermal camera to my phone, and I just have the phone in the picture with the relevant data on the screen while I was actually doing the repair, and that worked much better. So this has got a USB port on it up here. It's also got an SD card in there, which I'll get to in a minute. But it has got a USB port in here, and that you could connect to your computer, and you can switch it between USB storage mode and it says projection mode. So I'm pretty sure, I haven't tried this yet, but I know that it's a fact that you can connect this to a computer and use it as a camera for the computer. So I can use that footage through OBS if I wanted to. But to be honest, I think the best thing for me to do is just to have this on screen at the same time, and I can lift it up closer to the screen and to the camera so that the camera gets a better view. And it's just a better way of doing it, I think. It makes my workflow easier. So in terms of ease of pick up and play, this is pretty good. Probably I would give pick up and play score of the Topdon camera a 6 out of 10. just because I have to use my phone and I have to have this cable, although I've just realized that I don't really have to have that. So 6.5 out of 10, but this is going to get an 8 out of 10 because I can just pick it up and press it and I'm ready to go. The one thing I would say is the battery life on this is, I'm told, it has a 4,850 milliamp battery, and it's rechargeable obviously through the USB-C port, and it's apparently it will last for 16 hours, which is incredible. And one of the things that I'm very bad at is switching things off, and then remembering to charge them. If I do that and it's dead the next time I need to use it, that's quite frustrating if I have to wait for a device to recharge. And I've done that with, when I've needed to use my phone as a thermal camera. The phone in my pocket is not always fully charged, and that wouldn't be ideal to drain it. And it does drain the battery quite quickly. And I have a bench phone as well, a workbench phone as well, and that one has a terrible battery, so I can't just leave these things hanging around. I always have to remember to recharge them, and I'm not very good at that. So this is a big upgrade in those terms. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the features on this. So we've got 4 buttons here. We've got an OK button, a back button, and an up and down button, and we've also got the trigger as well. I'll just show you the side. I'll probably pull that sticker off at some point. And that side, of course, we've got the USB charging port, USB-C charging port, and a SD. There's a 32 gigabytes memory card in there that comes with the camera. I believe that is a visible light camera, and this is the infrared camera. One of these is a laser, I believe it's that one, and one of them is a light. So, and we'll look at those as well in a sec. So this button here, the OK button, is your menu button, and it doubles up as, well, not just a menu button, but an OK button. So if I want to look through the gallery, I press it again, and I press it again to review, and then I can look through some of the images that I've taken. I press it again, and it will give me, let's go to that one, another menu which says visual delete, so I can delete this by pressing this again, or I can look at the visible light image, which on this picture is of my cat in the dark. So you're not going to see anything in that one, and this button will go back through those menus. So the next one down is T range, so that's the temperature range, which can be either 100 to 550 degrees C, or automatic, so it will change by itself, or you can set it manually, and I've got it between -20 and 150. Emissivity, so all different materials have different emissivities. It's worth looking up what they are. I've just left it on the default for now. I don't need a highly accurate temperature reading when I'm making a diagnosis. I need to know if a chip is just burning hot. A good example is the switch in a Commodore 64, the power switch. And if that is not working as it should be, if there's some corrosion built up, some oxidization built up inside the switch, there's more resistance in that switch when electricity is passing through it, and that creates heat. And I've diagnosed a faulty switch on a number of C64s with a thermal camera. So yeah, emissivity I've left on the default. I haven't changed to the palette. I'm not really interested in different palettes. The one that it comes with is fine. It's just showing you the difference between different temperatures in the image, so it works fine. I like having a center point because I like to be able to point to the thing, but there is actually a laser as well, and you can have Fahrenheit or centigrade if you are from different areas. Now this one, ROI measure, if I've got that set to off, there's a little lag on the menu, and I'll go in here, so that will actually just give you the, up here in the top left, the temperature of the center point. It also gives you the range of temperatures here, so the lowest temperature is here and the highest temperature is up here. But if I turn on this ROI measure the first setting, we go back, just gives you a small area, and it will show you the lowest and highest temperature in that small area. And you can change the size of that area by continuing to click through. So that's like a medium, and that's pretty much the whole screen. So now it will actually give me the range of temperatures between the highest and lowest in the screen. So it's actually found something in the top left. I think what I'll do, I have had it on this highest setting, but I think I'll put it on the medium, because sometimes the points disappear off around the side and you can't really see them. But if I've got this, for instance, that's actually much more useful. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it on that one. There's an alarm. I don't know what that's for. I think that's if you're measuring things over time. Reflection measure or reflectivity measure. I don't know what that does. This distance is how far away you generally take a measurement. So you can do so I've got it set to the shortest distance because I'm just doing stuff about this far away. 10 centimeters is fine. Yeah, so it goes up to 10 meters, but you can do, you know, things much further away and you still get decent measurements. I think this is just for an accuracy reason. And the units, so you can change it to yards rather than meters. Auto shutdown was off by default. I've set that to 20 minutes because I'm terrible at turning things off. And the screen brightness, let's switch that to high, I think. Actually, I'm going to put it on low because the camera seems to like low better. And so if I turn the laser on and we go back, you can now, there's actually no laser coming out the front here, but when you press the trigger, there is, yeah, you can just see it there. There is a laser. Go back in here, turn the laser off. I don't want that on. Floodlight, similar. It's not on all the time, but if I press the trigger, you can see it lights up. Date and time, language. You can reset the device, format the SD card, picture-in-picture transparency. We'll get to that as well. And you can change it, right? So the visible light images are captured at the same resolution as the thermal imaging sensor, but you can change this to 1200 by 1600 and you'll get better quality pictures in the visible light spectrum, but the thermal imaging images will still be 240 by 320 or whatever it is. It's 256 by 192. I tried it in the higher resolution, but the thing is, when you take an image, you pull the trigger to take an image, the thermal image is taken instantly. The visible light image then takes an age to take. It's like 5 or 6 seconds to take. And if you move the camera in that time, you get motion blur. So it's not really a feature unless you can mount this. I have just noticed something that's amazing. It's got a camera mount. That is really cool. So you could set this up on a tripod and then take the images that way. Anyway, I would say leave that at, because it's the thermal image you're interested in anyway. And USB mode, you can switch that between projection and USB mode, which is external storage. Camera info, there's the firmwares and everything. And then we're back to the beginning. So if I go back to here, right, so now in this mode, the up and down buttons will switch between the different modes. So we've got visible light, and we've got picture-in-picture, infrared only, and MIF, which stands for multispectral image fusion. I think they should have changed that to multispectral image light fusion. Would have made a better acronym. Oh no, maybe not. Anyway, that's what it's generally on all of the time. And if I point it at something with some text on, what about my friend Andy's advertising card here? You can just about make out you can see some of the visible light in the image. In fact, if I take my finger and pass it over the the lens for the visible light, you can see that it just takes away that detail. Anyway, you can change between that and that's the visible light image, which is fine. It's not meant to be very good quality. And you've got this picture-in-picture image which shows you the visible light as the whole screen, and just the center part of the image is the thermal camera. But they don't, don't use that finger, they don't quite line up. You can see because the lenses aren't in exactly the same place, I've got two fingers there, whereas I'm actually holding just the one. But anyway, that's not a bad feature. I don't think I'll use that very much. There's infrared only, so now I'm pointing again at that business card, and there's no image. But if I then go to MILF, then I go to MIF. I love that acronym. That works well, but I will take an image of this. So you pull the trigger to take an image and then press that to save it. And then you can go into the gallery to review it. It will save a thermal image and a visible light image, which are both on the memory card, and then you can download them to your computer as you wish. That's a quick look at the functions of the thermal camera. Let me get a computer on the workbench, and then I can show you how I use it to diagnose things. And I've got an ideal example. This is one of my friend Paul Universal Retro Boss's computers that I picked up the other day for repair, and it says no picture and no sound. But when he says power, he means that the LED light is lighting up. It's a pretty grubby machine. Right, so if we switch it on, we just get, it looks like a purple line along the side there. And if I try it with diagnostics, dead test, a blue line, but nothing's happening. So if I point the thermal camera at it now, not a huge amount is going on. The VIC-2 chip isn't really getting very hot. I should take a picture of that. The SID chip also not too bad. It's 50 degrees, 53 degrees. The PLA, again 50 degrees. The voltage regulators doing their normal things, about 40 degrees. The bridge rectifier there next to the fuse, which you can see the fuse is 40 odd degrees. All of the memory is of similar shades, so I don't think anything is shorted there. The processor, which is that one, 50 degrees, that's quite normal. And 3 ROMs are slightly different temperatures. They range between 43 and 38. That one's a bit hotter. Oh no, maybe not 41. But the ROMs can be different temperatures. They don't get pushed as hard, especially with dead test isn't actually accessing them or pushing them. But over here, there's something odd going on over here. So if I take an image of this to show you. Right, so the one on the right is 42 degrees and the one on the left is 52 degrees. So there's about a 10-degree difference between them. That doesn't necessarily mean that the CIA is faulty. It's a reasonable assumption that if one is hotter than the other and they are both just sitting there doing nothing because they're not being accessed by the diagnostic cartridge, it's a reasonable assumption that one of them, or the hot one, is faulty. So shall we try that? I have a spare one here. It works. That's broken. That's fairly safe to say that that's broken. And all it took was pointing this at it to diagnose it. It doesn't always work that way. It's more and more a thermal camera is becoming one of the first things I reach for. diagnostic cartridges and multimeters and oscilloscopes are all things in your armory when you're, and brain's eyes and ears, nose, they're all things that you can use to actually find out what the problem is. But more and more I'm reaching for a thermal camera first. So what do I think about this one in particular? This is, it's over £300 this is to buy, and the Topdon is about £250 to buy. It's a lot of money. Again, if you can afford it, I'd highly recommend a thermal camera. It can save you a lot of time, and they have multiple uses, and they are just pretty cool things to play with as well. For most people, I'd say it's not a necessity on the workbench. For me personally, I have very insensitive fingers, and even when a chip is at 50 degrees on the board and the next chip to it is at 30 degrees, I can't tell the difference. It's just something that, with the nerve endings on my fingers, I can't tell the difference. And I really have struggled with that. You can use IPA, you can spray IPA on there to see if there's a difference, and that works with chips that get really hot. I can feel really hot chips, but it's the small differences between temperature variations that really can give you a good idea of where a fault could be. And a good example of that is the switch on a C64, although I'm not going to be able to see it on this one because it's not switched on. 300 and something pounds is not a bad price for a thermal camera, considering how much they used to cost for something with this thermal camera's capabilities. It's not perfect. The one thing it's missing that is something that comes with standard on the Topdon is video. You can't take videos. It's not an essential thing. For someone who's making YouTube videos, it's handy to have something that can shoot a video on the device. When you pull the trigger and it just takes a picture. The pictures are reasonable quality. It seems to be a very similar quality to the Topdon one. The other downside of a pistol that balances out the convenience of something that's an all-in-one device that you can just pick up and point is the screen size is a bit small, which, you know, it doesn't really need to be much bigger than this in use when you're just using your eyes to look at the device and you're actually just pointing it around something to find out what's hot and what's not. It's fine. You don't really need to do very much peering at the screen to work out what you need to know. But the Topdon one does have the benefit of being a much bigger screen because it's your phone, but it does have the inconvenience of needing a phone. So that's going to be something that you'll have to make a decision on whether you need it or not. But I quite like the pistol version just for the ability to actually point it at something, pull the trigger, and you've got an image. Yeah, so despite my reservations about the screen size and other things, the benefits of this with them, it's huge battery life and pickup and playability is something that's really going to be useful to me. So I really look forward to using this in future videos. I'm going to have to work out the best way to integrate it into my workflow, especially when making videos, because it looks like holding it in front of the camera, between the camera and the thing that I'm working on, isn't the way to go with this one. I might have to connect a USB cable to it and capture that on the PC itself. But we'll see. It's something I'm sure I'll get used to, and I really like it. Thank you, Kaiweets. Thank you, Jane Kaiweets, for sending this out to me. I hope you like my video. Thank you. Bye.